and our target's really actually become $1 billion roofing company.
We don't really do any external leadership hiring. We only really promote from within, which I think is a huge part of our culture.
Did you say 1,000 applicants per month? What's going on, everyone? I am super excited to be here with Ashlyn and Doug, Bartlett Roofing out in Boise, Idaho. They're putting out some awesome content. Ashlyn and I connected on Instagram, just kind of, liking each other's and supporting one another's content and whatnot. So here we are recording a podcast. We're going to be talking about marketing and branding and culture and company building and networking and all that good stuff. So what's going on, guys?
What's up, Joseph?
Hey, how's it going?
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, we're jacked.
Nice. You can call me Joe, by the way, whatever one, works for you. Like I said, I grew up in my family's construction business, and I'm a junior, so I worked for my dad, and he was Joe. So I had a choice. I could be Joe Jr. or Joey or Joseph, and I felt like Joseph sounded like more mature, so that kind of became my online name anyway, but either one goes. Anyway, this is about you guys and about the audience, not about me. Can you guys give us a snapshot of Bartlett Roofing and just, the company and what you're all about?
Yeah. So obviously we're a family-owned business. Doug started the company about 7-8 years ago. We had a pretty gnarly hailstorm up here in the Boise, greater Boise area.
In 2013.
Yeah, it was in 2013. Doug was actually working with a homeowner, and they let him know that their neighbor was getting their roof covered by their insurance company. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. There wasn't anyone doing storm restoration in the Boise area. I mean, it's not as prominent as it is on the East Coast as far as we don't get hurricanes, we don't get tornadoes, we get high winds.
Big hail's very, very rare here.
Yeah, we do a lot of wind now. But yeah, Doug kind of muddled his way through working with the insurance, figured out this is an industry, and it's a very, very prominent industry in other parts of the country, and we get some of the same storm damage, just no one was really aware of it.
Yeah, I've been in construction since 1992, and building custom homes, doing property development, real estate, all that. So I had a deep investment in this industry in general as far as the construction industry goes, but I just saw a real opportunity with the hailstorm that came through. I was late. I jumped into it and just picked up the remnants of that storm in 2014, but really saw that opportunity, and we've really grown from there into where this year we did how many roofs, Ashlyn?
We've done just over 2,000 roofs, 2,197 installed year to date. I think last year we were at 20.5 million in revenue, and then this year we're at 29.6. So we've grown quite a bit since 2014 in a one-man band. We do primarily residential, so I would say it's about 95% residential work versus about 5% commercial, which is also, I think, rare in the industry. We made the Inc. 5000 list this year, so that was really exciting. It was probably one of our biggest accomplishments. Over the course of 3 years, grew 837%. So that was really awesome. We were named to number 585 on the list. So we were super close to hitting that 500 mark. So it's kind of the goal going forward. But yeah, I started out in Boise and then expanded into other areas. And so now we're in 5 states with over 200 active employees.
Wow. That's some incredible growth. I mean, from year to date or year over year from 2020 to 2021, but also over the 7 years, that's outstanding. So now you said you started out with that big hailstorm, and similar here in New Jersey, we get hurricanes once in a while, but we don't get hail or wind like a lot of the Midwest of the U.S. gets. So I get where you're coming from there. What percentage would you say is storm restoration versus retail in your business?
Yeah, we're probably 95% storm.
Yeah,
and but that's primarily based on wind in the areas that we work in. We're not so much of the hail. I mean, we love hail when it happens, but we don't go out and chase hail all across the country like a lot of these companies do. We prefer to stay as a more stable market, stable areas where we work in, so that our employees can live at home and work at home. Basically, they're in their hometown where they work.
Got it. Yeah, we work with a lot of companies that do retail and a lot of companies that do the storm restoration, but zero companies that do the storm chasing, because every company that we work with wants to build a local brand, and if they have storms in their local markets, that's great. but they're not, hopping up and, flying around chasing everything. So totally get that. Yeah, I see on your website, you guys are Idaho, Eastern Washington, Utah, Western Montana, Wyoming, Oregon, Arizona. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride to grow that much.
Yeah. So like that's a pretty big company, pushing 30 million bucks. Congratulations on that. What are your can you describe your guys' roles in the company right now?
You want me to start?
Sure.
I am the Chief Culture Officer here at Bartlett. I actually started back in 2017. I had moved back from the East Coast, was living out in North Carolina. That's where my son was born. Moved back, and the business was just starting to grow, and they were actually expanding into Idaho Falls, Idaho, which is a little tiny town out in the eastern Idaho, like near the Wyoming-Idaho border. So I was coming on right when we were starting to look at other markets. I actually started as a receptionist and filing paperwork and kind of moved my way up in the business. So I played a lot of different roles in the company as it's grown. So it's been really fun to be a part of that. But yeah, now I'm the Chief Culture Officer. Essentially, I function as like a CHRO, right? A Chief HR Officer, with some more fun stuff included in that. I love to do the PR like Doug talked about, the networking, brand awareness. I work really closely with our marketing team that we developed this year. Incentives, events, which I think is all really important to have as a company grows, to keep that kind of tight bond and family knit kind of feeling that we had when we first started when we were really small. We want everyone to feel like a positive environment when they come into any one of our offices across any location or market that we're in. So I help kind of push that brand awareness, like I said, in multiple areas, whether it's recruiting or HR, marketing.
Yeah, Ashlyn's in charge of our recruiting, and so she's one of the first faces that people see as they join us, and also one of the faces that they see consistently through videos and now on the podcast that I've started, and just being a part of like all kinds of aspects of the company. She's really filled the gap on a lot of things as we've grown. For myself, I'm the CEO of the company, founder of it. That's really what I do, is I just make sure that I build my team, and I've been fortunate enough to build a really strong team of leaders, and so in a lot of ways it makes my job pretty easy because we have leaders in each major department of the company, and our target's really actually become $1 billion roofing company.
Wow. I like how you just dropped that nice and casually. So you developed leaders. Both interesting roles, because I mean, a lot of the audience is listening, watching smaller companies, and they're just like, a lot of owners might be like, well, how do I, like, culture officer? Like, that sounds like something that, $100 million companies have, not, roofing companies. I don't think I've ever heard of it at a roofing company. So that's really cool. And then as a CEO, like to be developing leaders and have leaders under you, like that's something that I certainly aspire to. It's something that I think a lot of the audience aspires to as well. So on that, Doug, like, how did you graduate, or how did you kind of, elevate yourself from like, running the business, wearing lots of hats, I'm sure, into managing leaders of different departments?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just, I think people fail to grow because they fail to recognize the value of their time. And so early on, I started and said, what is my time value? And if I break it down to how fast can I sell a roof and how much money can I make in that roof, then I put my personal time value very, very early on in this business at $1,000 an hour. And so if I could hire somebody to do something else for less than $1,000 an hour, then I should definitely do that. And so as soon as it was like, I'm too busy and I don't really want to do that anymore, and my time is worth $1,000 an hour and theirs is worth $20 or $30 or whatever the number is, I'm going to hire that person and put them to work. It's just automatic. Unless it's something that's critical, in which case then the other qualifying factor is can they do it 80% as well as I think I can do it? If they can do it 80% as well as I can, I'm hiring that person, because the fact is at 80%, they're probably doing it just as well as I am, just slightly differently, right? If I believe they're at 80%, they're probably actually at 100%. So get it done. Hire people. Fill the gaps. Stop thinking that you have to control everything.
I think one of the biggest things that I've seen as a part of the leadership team that we've talked a lot about more this year, or over the last 2 years really, is finding out what people are most fulfilled at and best at and better than anyone else at. And one of our marketing director, Chris Vastardis, says this a lot, and we've kind of all coined the term, but it's being the ace in your place, right? So where do I best fit in the business? Where does Doug best fit in the business? Where does our CFO best fit, and our content creators? And everybody has a role that they fill and are also most fulfilled internally by. You do have to do things sometimes that you don't want to do, but if you can find the people that like accounting and like numbers and tracking that stuff, and like Doug said, do it 80% as well as you, where you're probably being very critical, right? That's just how life works, is we're always very critical, especially when you're delegating or handing off tasks that you used to be responsible for. And so that's one thing I think Doug's really excelled at as a leader in the company and promoting other leaders, is finding the people that will do those tasks and also be fulfilled by it. And it's not just like this delegation game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, our staff actually often will have a morphing of their job over time, because we find that their skills that we hired them for, they're proficient at it, but we discover over the first 3, 6, 9 months of their employment that they actually have a preference for a area, smaller, more zoned in space that they feel the most fulfilled by, they're happiest in, and also they're the best at usually as well. And so we try to find that spot and put them right there, because that's where they're the happiest, and that's where we're the happiest with their results as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I found that as an owner as well. Like, I was doing all the sales for the first few years, and then, finally hired a few sales reps, and now they do all the sales. And not only they like it better than I do, they're better at it than I am. They're focused on it more. So it just completely transformed the company almost overnight. And on that last point that you made, as far as like what people want to do, we're going through that right now. Right now it's the end of December. We're recording this, and just going through our team and being like, hey, this is what you're doing right now. But like, what do you like? What don't you like? What don't you want to do? What would you want to do in the company? And not that it's like choose your own adventure and everything's going to be promised, but you can kind of like navigate, different people to where they're going to be, happiest and most impactful, right?
I think if you have a vision for where your company is going, that people will be patient to find that niche that they fill, right? And so if you haven't cast an appropriate vision as an owner, then that's your bad. You need to make sure that you are, one of my personal missions is to grow this business fast enough to give everybody here an opportunity to grow into the role that they want to be in, whether it's in leadership or a more specialized role. My challenge is to continue to grow at a pace that keeps people that are hungry for growth. It keeps presenting them an opportunity with a place to be. And so I take that challenge very personally, because I've made a promise to my team, to my employees, that, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do, because I value you as an employee. In fact, our mission statement, it puts our customers after our employees. Our employees really are our first priority, because if we put our employees first, then we know they're going to treat our customers right.
Same thing here. Yeah, absolutely. Now, on that note, like switching over to you, Ashlyn, for a little bit, like you guys have over 200 employees, looking to build $1 billion company and still try to, maintain that family business feel, which is definitely a challenge just to even like talk about it. What are some of the things that you guys do as far as like instilling culture and attracting the right people and, making sure everyone's in alignment?
I think one of the biggest things is keeping people engaged, and creating relationships. Something that we talk about very frequently with leadership and even with our teams is that, we all want to make money at the end of the day, right? It's not this taboo thing anymore. Like, money provides stability. It provides the opportunities to be able to pursue, new things or go on trips or whatever. It's important. But those emotional connections and relationships are so much more valuable. And so that at the end of the day is what's most important to me, is how people feel when they're here. And there's a Maya Angelou quote that talks about people forgetting what you did and what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So that's like probably at the center of everything that I do. Is how is this going to translate into how people feel when they walk into the office or they go to a barbecue? We like to put on consistently team events in every office, whether it's a picnic or a barbecue at Doug's house. We have him over to his house, whether it's 10 people or 60 people, right? He's got a large backyard, so it makes it very convenient.
Yeah, a little volleyball in the backyard.
Yeah. Boat days are really fun in the summer. We try to kind of invite whoever wants to come out. We put on a leadership summit every year with our leadership, top performers trips. We even had a softball team that played on the City League team in Boise this year. And so just allowing an environment to be created and cultivated through this positive place, and continuing to foster those relationships, I think is probably the most important part of it.
That's awesome. And as you guys know, in the roofing industry, contracting industry more broadly, like there's a big challenge with team member turnover, just, constantly like revolving door of sales reps and team members. So I'm going to guess that your focus on culture means that you have a higher, retention than most companies.
Yeah, I would say that overall, like our admin turnover is, little to none. Most of our admin have been on for years. And then sales is sales, right? We've got the high performers that stay on. People typically weed out in the first couple of months, right? So yeah, no, the guys and gals that stay on at Bartlett, those top performers, they move up into leadership very quickly, which like Doug was talking about, being able to provide that opportunity for people to say, I want to be here. I see the vision. I'm bought in. What can I do without essentially at one point, what can I do to show the initiative without being paid to some degree to show that I'm bought into this and I'm going to go forward on it. We've been able to promote, I think, like 5 leaders this year within our leadership group, whether it was sales managers or other departments. And so that's been really exciting to see that grow, because it means entirely new departments are created and new sales teams and expanding into other markets. So I think that's the biggest part, especially with tenured sales reps. At some point, I think most people, not everyone, because you do have those guys that are like, I just live and breathe sales. Like that's all I want to do for the rest of my life. And we've got those guys too, right? But most people, we want to see a natural progression in life that we're consistently getting better. Right. And so you need to have that in the company that you work for every day. People get bored doing the same thing every day. It's just a fact of life, right?
Yeah, even if they're making killer money, they do get tired of it. They get tired of the grind and they want to have an opportunity to do something else, to challenge themselves, to grow, to become a better person, and to lead other people to success. Because, what you find is once you've made a certain amount of money, it's always great to make more money, but you also have to feel like your life, your career, your business, whatever it is rewarding. And, like for me, I know that becomes rewarding by growing a company that provides a place where people can love where they work and that they can have an opportunity to move forward in life as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Allowing, I think a lot of companies, they lose people, they lose team members because the employee or the sales rep, they have a vision for themselves that is bigger than what the company can provide. And it sounds like you kind of have that mindset, and you're living that in the company, where you have the potential for people to grow within and to build their dreams and visions within the company, right?
It's certainly our goal.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I can speak to that in the sense that like we didn't have a chief culture officer position before I like created it, right? And we didn't have a chief operations officer, really. We had a production manager, and then we figured, we're growing. We need to have somebody at the helm of that, really, like Doug said, creating and casting the vision, and then like showing them the path as well, which I think is super important in leadership, is being able to do the things that you're asking of others. Right. And so that's one of the things that I think, especially in like promotions at Bartlett, is so important, is like really mastering your craft. Before I could lead recruiting, I had to be a really good recruiter. Before I could lead HR and HR administrators and ben admin and that stuff, I had to really understand HR. And so we don't really do any external leadership hiring. We only really promote from within, which I think is a huge part of our culture. I can't even think of a single person that we've brought on externally into the leadership fold.
We haven't. Yeah, no, that's 100%. All of our leadership has come from inside. And I think that's important, because I think that people, come in and absorb the culture that you have, and then as they become leaders, they give that culture out. And so that's a key point of continuation of what this culture is, instead of selling it out to whoever the best qualified CFO is because they're great at crunching numbers. We want somebody that's going to be understanding our culture at the same time.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I guess you risk bringing someone in from the outside that doesn't understand your culture, and there's a lot of friction there. I'm one of the people that have been there forever, and I can see that being detrimental to the business. So one of the questions I know the audience is going to be wondering now is, and I know there's no magic solution for this, but where do you find people? Is it that people are referred by current employees, or are you going out there and actively doing a lot of recruiting, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, this is really up my alley. I lead our recruiting team, which I will say I have a pretty badass recruiting team. We hired over 300 full commission sales reps this year. Like I said, across I think 6 total states. And the biggest thing for us is the brand awareness online. And that's really what I believe drives the high volume of people. We get literally thousands of applications, usually around 1,000 applications every single month. And we kind of hit it from all ends. So a lot of it is job boards, Indeed, LinkedIn, utilizing ZipRecruiter, but also social media. How do we brand ourselves? Because just like in any kind of marketing, they're going to see you on multiple different platforms, right? So they see us on Glassdoor, they see us on Indeed, they see us on Instagram, they see us on Facebook, they see us on their friend's Facebook who just got their roof done by us and is raving about it. And so a lot of that brand awareness is going to be really vital. We do have a lot of people that get referred in as well. And then my recruiters, their job is to go through each of those applications and pick out that cream of the crop, the guy that's going to not only perform and bring in revenue for the company, because we have to make money, but also be a culture fit. And like Doug said, that's one of the biggest key players in the hiring. We interview people all the time that would be considered high performers in any sales position in any industry, but some of those guys have their noses in the air and they walk in entitled, and I don't care how many deals you sell. If you're going to walk in and you're going to cause problems, you're not a part of this team. End of story.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're the top sales guy, honestly. If you can't be a team member, then you're just going to drag everybody else down so far that it ain't going to matter anyway. You're going to blow up an entire team. And it's one, hard-earned experience to know that, but it's definitely important that you fit the culture, even, no matter how good of a performer you are, you still have to fit the culture.
Absolutely. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I grew up playing sports. If you guys did as well, like you know that, or you see professional sports where just because you have some hotshot all-star player come in doesn't mean that it's a net positive for the team, or, in this case, the company. Did you say 1,000 applicants per month?
Around 1,000 applications. I think December was a little bit shorter just because around the holidays, but about that. In between Indeed, ZipRecruiter, referrals, LinkedIn, those
socials.
Are socials. Those are our main points, but we really like to be able to hit from all areas. So like things like the brand awareness, being a featured employer on Indeed, making sure that we're putting out content, that was one of the biggest changes I think we made this year, was we actually developed a marketing team in-house, right? So prior to March of 2021, I was the only one accessing our socials and posting whatever content I could capture on my phone in the offices when I was there. And, something's better than nothing, right? Get our name out there. And I think it helped a lot internally, but we brought on, we actually promoted one of our sales reps who has a huge experience and background in marketing into a marketing director position. And then we brought in a referral guy as our content creator. And so between the two of those guys, making sure that we're moving up the timeline on the content creation, having higher quality in the content, I think having that brand awareness. So a lot of the times when my recruiters are in screening interviews, they're talking to the candidate, they might have applied on Indeed, but they also saw us on Instagram. They watched our videos on YouTube. And so one thing Doug talks about is we're going to show who we are and make sure that is forecasted and front facing to everybody that we can, whether it's through our socials. And another big thing about that is people love seeing themselves, right? So capturing that content internally of our teams, when the guy or a gal on a sales team see themselves on a social media post, they repost it, right? I mean, that's just what you do. If you get tagged in a post, you repost it. That's just kind of how socials work, and people live and breathe, the social media game now. And so that's been really big for us to double down in the marketing department by bringing those guys on, rather than me trying to kind of do it half-assed, more or less.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I talk about that a lot in my content. It's like, as much as we need to be marketing to generate business and projects and clients, we need to be marketing and building our brands to attract the right people. And that's what you guys have done. And so this year, 2021, a lot of people are complaining like, oh, it's so hard to find good people and whatnot. But it's like, are you really like positioning yourself as the company that the top people are looking to work for, that they're going to be attracted to? And you take extreme ownership over that. It's clear. And hey, that's why we're here right now. Like, you and I connected on Instagram, and I was like, man, like, this is different than what you normally see from a contracting company. Like, I want to talk to her and see what's up. So it's like it generates, collaborations like this, generates team members, generates obviously clients, referral partners, and things like that. So I think too many roofing companies are looking for like the magic, what's that magic lead source where I can just press the button and it generates all these leads. And it's not that. It's all these things that kind of, come together to build that brand that people want to work with, work for, and be aligned with, right?
100%. I mean, that's where I kind of started, was when I was in sales full time. I was posting all the time about what I was doing and how I was inspecting people's roofs, and that turned into a lot of online leads and referral leads, and to the point where I didn't have to knock a door anymore. I was just running leads from either real estate agents or referrals, or, friends that would tag me in posts of people that are like ISO roofer in Boise, Idaho. And I'm like, yeah, I got you. I'll go do an inspection tomorrow, and just being right on it. And so people seeing that, and kind of hopping on the train and then transferring that to the roofing side of it, or the company side of it. One of the things that I think is really important, I think that a lot of other companies struggle with, or fall pitfall to, is they post a lot of roofing pictures. Don't get me wrong, I am a roofing girl through and through. I love roofing photos, but most people, unless you've been in the industry, don't even understand how roofs installed, or what the nice straight crisp chalk lines look like, or if the ridge venting's installed great. So throwing those in every now and again is great, but having that being the bulk of your content gets really boring. And so we've been really focused on, like I said earlier, promoting our teams and showing and recognizing them on socials. And, like I said, we're really good about putting on events. So we do a lot of content capturing at events and sales meetings and trainings and things like that. And that's the kind of content that we've positioned ourselves to put out, rather than just the post of the newly installed roof, And
that's also where the podcast that we've just started recording ourselves plays into this as well, because we want to put out what our mindset is as a company, and where we're coming from and what we believe, and what kind of coaching we can provide for people to be professionals in this business, and not just be locked down on being a roofer who's out there with a nail gun in his hand, or out there knocking doors. There's an opportunity to be more than that, and this is a great business to do it in if you just build a business instead of just being Chuck in a truck.
I definitely think, like, we're not just a roofing company. Like, we're a personal development company, and we're a leadership development company. And that's kind of how we lead. And the roofing is the vehicle in which we help people, right? But at our core, we just want to help people, whether it's with their roofs, or in their leadership development, or in their personal lives. We want to see people grow and help them.
I love that. I mentioned before we started recording that I want to start a roofing company locally one day. And that's exactly what I positioned it as. That's my vision, is to be a personal development company. Our son is 9, and I envision, like, when he and his buddies become, teenagers, they can sell, they can work in the business, they can learn just life skills that you don't really learn in school. And my vision was inspired by this real estate brokerage in Arizona. AZ Arajo is the guy's name, and he owns AZ and Associates, one of the fastest growing brokerages in Arizona. And he has this website called badassagents.com. So it's basically like the recruiting side. And if you go on badassagents.com, it's like, we are a personal development company. Yes, they happen to, sell property and all that, but like, that's their thing. They do a lot of training and coaching and events. And I never met the guy. I'd love to fly out and go to one of their events just to learn. But I think that's such a cool thing because it's much more than just roofing or contracting or selling houses or whatever it is.
That's actually something else that Ashlyn brought to the table. She had the idea a while back for us to do a book club. And so we actually do have a book club that is voluntary participation, and we have anywhere between 5 and 15 people that are normally actively involved in it, reading the current book. But if you're committed to a book, you have to be there for every meeting. And it's once a week for an hour. and we just we read a chapter or two and then have a discussion about it for an hour, on the clock. We're there, we're working, but that personal development, dives into our work day as well. It's been a really great, addition to the repertoire of what we do.
Yeah, I definitely
Wow.
think, that's been fun. And it's been interesting because I think it's like so out of the traditional like corporate space, like, don't get me wrong, like it is kind of expected for us to like work on our personal goals, especially for those in leadership. I mean, one of my favorite John Maxwell quote is he doesn't help anybody unless they're first helping themselves, right? And so that's really important, especially for the people that we have in leadership. But it came out of like a selfish desire, to be honest, is like I needed accountability in my personal development, and I could see that in others as well. And so we like put together a syllabus at like the end of the year last year and committed to reading about one book a month as a group. And at first it was, we're going to get everybody in, as many people as possible. We're going to like make it a thing, but that kind of dilutes the
authenticity.
Yeah, the authenticity and the quality. And so like Doug said, it's voluntary. It's encouraged, right? If you want to grow and be a leader, you need to be developing personally, but it's on the clock. It's 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time every Wednesday morning. Right now we're reading Multipliers. I don't even remember how many books we've read. We've read more than one a month this year because we've just been cranking through them. But we read Extreme Ownership. We read...
We've been through a bunch of the
Yeah.
books, but it's really interesting because as a leader, you also have an opportunity to see who is in self-improvement mode. And so it's a good indicator of future leaders. If you have salespeople participating, that's a great indicator of future leaders because these people are invested in growing themselves, which is going to be paying them dividends for their whole lives.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so cool. Book club at a roofing company. That's awesome. Speaking of of leaders and future leaders, like you guys you've expanded into multiple states. How do you, I don't know, how does that structure work? Do you have a team lead at each location, I guess, or general manager? Like, what is that structure?
Well, we have regional sales managers. And so we have 2 regional sales managers currently, and they have been tasked with growing their regions. They know really what their limits are. Our regional sales managers are expected to have, 7 to 10 sales managers working underneath them. And if they don't have that, which neither one of them does currently, they understand that that's part of our expectation for that position to even exist, is to expand their market area and expand their footprint and their sales. And then we've also recently put together just a startup team, basically a couple of sales managers that like the idea of traveling around and starting new markets. So those 2 guys will be going into our new markets, and we have one successfully under our belt at this point where we've done this already, where they go in and they start the market, they do the hiring, they're already well versed in what we do. And are there basically for 6 months in order to build up that team and to identify a couple of new leaders that can be promoted to being new managers in that market before they move on to another startup.
Mm-hmm. I also think like communication. So like our core leadership team meets every Monday. And we go over all of our numbers and, anything pertaining, as the different departments, intertwine to each other. And so constant connection with our teams, because we do have, our CFO is down in Salt Lake, and, me and Doug are up in Boise, our COO lives in Phoenix, so we have to make sure that we communicate. We implemented Slack this year, which has been huge, I think. Just having one centralized place for communication works really well. It's like similar to like WhatsApp or GroupMe, but there's an admin side of it. We can create different channels and things like that. And so the other thing that I think is really important is like fostering and setting the standards for all of that stuff from the beginning. So like it starts in the recruiting, it starts in the hiring. We talk about our core values and our mission statement and expectations in orientation every single week when we have new hires coming in. So they know like high quality of communication is probably one of the most vital things at our company, whether it's cross-market, cross-region, cross-office, cross-department. Everybody plays a part, and it's important. And if, people need communication from you, you better and you want communication from them, you better be communicating properly and clearly as well.
Okay, right on. Yeah, we have team members throughout the country as well, and we use Slack. That's our primary mode of communication. So it's cool to have that kind of digital, water cooler, both for like official business and just kind of catching up with one another. That's huge.
Yeah.
As you build to a billion, I'm sure that's a longer term play, but like, what does that strategy look like? How many states are you in, or what does that look like?
I mean, to be $1 billion company, that's a huge goal. But if we break it down, really what it boils down to is we need, I think the number is around 120 sales managers with a full sales team of 15 to 20 guys doing, basic average stay-at-home numbers. The numbers that we see from our average guys aren't what you see from a guy that's out in a hailstorm and who's trying to knock down 30 roofs or 60 roofs or whatever number of roofs in a month, right? We're paying a significant portion of the profits on each job to our sales team, so that they can be stationary and survive in a non-storm situation. And so, 120 managers, I guess what that boils down to is that, we're approaching, not far off of being 10% of the way toward that goal as far as the overall numbers go. There's some improvements that we need to make and some, refining that needs to happen, but 120 sales managers with full sales teams, and we're there. I really think that ends up being a nationwide picture, and we're going to have to adapt some of our model into not just insurance claims, which is where we're mostly at now. I mean, we do some commercial bid work, we do some residential bid work, but a lot of residential insurance work, and we're going to need to get stronger in the both the commercial and the residential bid work, the retail side of things, and be significantly stronger at that. And we're working on developing that. We've got a new website's getting ready to launch in a couple of days, and paid advertising and different stuff we're doing to bring in additional leads, and as well as our door knocking model. And so it's just always a work in progress, and we always have to be aware of that.
Wow, that's awesome. Seems like you got it pretty mapped out. And then is solar going to be a portion of that as well?
Currently not planning on diving into solar. I know that that's a big push, a lot of people in the industry, but I look at it like, what are my limiting factors for growth? And the limiting factors for this company to grow is leadership. It isn't opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity. I have a mindset of always there's abundant opportunity. And but the limiting factor is do I have enough people that are strong enough leaders to really bring this to fruition? And until I have a surplus of leaders, there's really no reason for me to move to anything besides roofing. If I have opportunity in the specialty that I'm in and not enough leaders, then I should continue to stay specialized. If I end up with a point where I have too many people that are ready to be leaders, then I should probably be looking at secondary markets. That
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, solar is super popular these days. I think too many companies are jumping into it just as a shiny new object, and they don't even have like a solid business structure for roofing, and then jumping into something else, and it's just too much chaos. So I kind of agree with that. Everything rises and falls on leadership. John Maxwell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like Ashlyn was saying earlier, where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah, we tried to get into other exterior products, right? Doug's been in construction since the 90s. He used to develop and build custom homes. He's very familiar with all of that stuff. So it was really easy for us to get into gutters and siding. But we just realized that if you triple down on what you're good at, the exponential growth happens there, right? You got to work on the things that are necessary as far as growing your weaknesses, but tripling down on what you're good at. And that kind of, even like we talked about, goes into the culture of the company. Rather than trying to make someone be a really good photographer or a really good accountant when they're good at something else, we're just going to triple down on what they're good at there.
Yeah, it's been really good for us to be specialized. It's actually one of the reasons why I really loved roofing when I did get into it, because I've got 29 years of experience in construction now. And that varies widely. You know, I'm a draftsman. I was a real estate agent, a developer. So everything from buying the dirt, developing it, finding a homeowner, designing their home for them, building the home. I was a framer when I first started out in this business. I mean, I've done it all. And one of the things I love about the roofing business is that on our average roof, we're done in one day. We start it that morning and we are done and cleaned up that night. We tear it off and we're finished before the day is over. And so it's such a clean business model compared to what I was used to working with customers sometimes for more than a year with one customer. Now it's just like we're knocking the door, we're making the sale in an hour. And then when we come back, we're doing the job in a day. And so it's so smooth, and we've got it so streamlined that it's like it's a no-brainer for us to stay on that path.
That makes sense. Yeah. So Doug, what would you say to someone younger, or maybe not even younger, a newer company owner who's like starting out in roofing, but man, Mrs. Jones, like she's really nice and she wants me to do her siding and the windows as well. And I want to take care of the customer. So I'm going to figure out how to do the siding and windows. What do you say to that business owner?
Yeah, I mean, that's real easy for me. It goes back to a statement that I made earlier, which is simply this. What is the maximum income potential you have for the one thing you do best? And so for me, that was, I can make $1,000 an hour out knocking doors and selling roofs. I got really good at that very quickly. I would have never knocked doors before, but I saw the opportunity. And so I made myself get over my discomfort and get really good at it very quickly. I sold 18 roofs in my first month. And nobody was there, and that was my own business. I was also doing the insurance negotiation, hiring the crew, buying the dump trailer, doing the whole thing, setting up all the accounts, the whole works. And so I look at it and say, hey, if you can be maximum potential remodeling kitchens, then remodel kitchens and stop messing with anything else. But own your sales process. That's the biggest key right there, is own your sales process. And then make sure you understand where your maximum potential is at, and do that and do it a lot and do it well, and then teach people to do it.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, I'm sure the audience will appreciate that. Just, focus on developing your processes and customer experience and triple down. I really love that advice. Yeah. What else did we touch on, guys, that you kind of want to talk about? Like, feel free to share whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to put a quick plug in for the podcast that I'm starting, the Monster Mindset. We're going to be episodes coming out starting in January. And so, I'd love to catch a few listeners there. It's just based on, business growth, personal growth, self-development, recognizing opportunities. And I think that, as far as a leave behind with your audience is kind of what you were just summarizing. Find something that you're really your ace in your place. And, from Chris Vistardis's term, find that spot where you're an ace in your place and do it really well. And then even if you think you're the best at it, set a target to be 10 times better at it and 10 times faster at it. And then teach people how to do that. And if you can do that, you're going to be very, very successful.
I was going to say, I think on the culture side of things, it's not something that just happens overnight. It's something that's developed and continued to develop. It's like a muscle. If you don't go to the gym, it's going to dissipate, right? So you have to continue to work on it. You don't just arrive, and that's just like anything in life, right? Is you can't just like expect to stay at that point. We have what I think, obviously biased, but a great culture now. But it wasn't always that way, right? And you've got to be willing to weed the people out that aren't good fits, and you've got to be able to continue to work on it. So just because we have a good culture now, if we stopped working on it, if I stopped creating environments and events for people to foster relationships and feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves and are really, in this day and age, everyone wants to add to a cause or like have a bigger reason why outside of a financial gain. And so if you don't continue to foster that, it doesn't just like stay there. So you have to continue to develop it. And I think the biggest way that we do that is through shared experiences and memories, because those foster a better and stronger bond than any amount of financial success can. So we're really committed to doing things like top performers trip, incentive programs, competitions. You know, the podcast is part of that. It's about connecting people, right, at the end of the day. And so you have to work on it. It's not something that just happens because you hired good people. That's a part of it, but you have to work on it, and you have to create those environments to where people can come in, they can let their walls down, they can feel like you're helping them strive towards their goals, right? And be a part of something bigger than themselves.
And I have one more thing I would add to that is that, fail forward. Don't be afraid to fail, but always, fail forward. Like, try, see what worked, reiterate, try again. Just keep doing that over and over again, because Ashlyn's right. You're not gonna come up with the perfect idea. There is no perfect idea. We are dealing with real life and real people and real circumstances, and nothing is perfect. And so if you can fail forward and make small incremental gains, 1%, forward is a huge gain in the long run, because those gains become, exponential in return. And so if you just keep failing forward, you try something, it didn't quite work, you try it again, it worked a little bit better. That's a win. That's an absolute win. And so just keep failing forward.
Love it, guys. Yeah, that's part of my philosophy, like that Kaizen, continuous improvement philosophy, the compound effect, 1% better every day. I write about a lot of that stuff in my content, and try to live it too. And what I'm hearing from like the common denominator from what you guys are both talking about is like, culture is not something that you do once, or, marketing is not something that you do, or building your brand is not something that you do in January and then forget about it. It's like you work on all these different systems of the business, like continually throughout the year. And that's what makes that difference. And there's no magic solution for any one thing, kind of like you alluded to, Doug. It's like it's all these things that come together, and there's no magic in it. So continually work on all of your systems, right?
Yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying. That's a mantra that I live by. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you may not realize it, but you are. If you're not expanding, if you're growing personally, you're dying personally. If you're not growing in business, you're dying in business. It applies to all areas of your life.
Love it. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. And I'm excited to check out your podcast when it comes out. I'm excited to launch this. We'll chop this up into little bits and pieces, and I'll let you know when everything goes live, so we can share it out and be social, right?
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
really excited.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. We appreciate you having us on today. It's been fun.
Yeah, likewise. I'm excited to continue to follow your journey. So we'll talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.